hear you.
Is that whiskey?
I wish.
Should
That's
be.
iced coffee.
Is it Elf coffee?
Elf coffee? It's Defender coffee. What is Elf coffee?
We're live, right?
We are live.
I'll have to text you that.
Okay. So how about Alan challenging me last night? You know, I went back and listened to that. I don't know where he was coming from.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I went back and listened, and I don't know where he was coming from. I went back and listened to it objectively today, and it was fair enough. He can do that.
David on hold.
Facebook viewers, what's going on? YouTube restream.
Going to record for Rumble.
Yeah, you got to remind me. I need to get yesterday's up. That's the only thing I didn't do today. JJ Seymour, Central Ohio. What's up, JJ? That new intro's ready to roll, right? Yes, it is. I talked to Jim earlier. Sorry about that. I forgot.
We're getting close.
You know?
30. Record.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the gunbroker.com studios on the Crossbreed Holsters Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
It's 2021, and we're in a new decade. Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. You digging that new intro? Did you catch that? Whoa, what's going on here? I did not make a mistake last night. I am blown away by the fact that I actually got through all 3 hours of yesterday's broadcast without messing up the studio name. Yesterday on the Monstercast was the first time in, I'm guessing I think it was right around 10 years, maybe even longer, that the studio was not the Crossbreed Holster studio. but it was in fact the Car Firearm Studio last night. And today, it is the gunbroker.com studios on the Crossbreed holster. If you're watching on the live stream, you see it behind me here, on the Crossbreed holsters microphone. We just did a little flipperoonie there for you so that we could get some more Crossbreed products out across all of our platforms. And Car Arms says we want to take that we want to take that studio, and God bless them. We appreciate all of our sponsors. Of course, all of this is being presented to you today by X Insurance, a far superior product to anything you think you have. This is going to be, as we discussed last night, a radically historical week. My opening last night, I went back and listened to it twice today. I generally don't do that. But Mr. Gottlieb challenged me on my opening last night and said that I left a couple things out, although he knew what I was saying, that I might have left some room for the left to come after me somewhat. And to my response was, well, let him. Come on. I stand by everything I said. But I went back and I listened to it, and I didn't see it. I didn't see it. So I stand by what I said yesterday. If you didn't hear my opening, I'm going to talk with David Codry about it briefly today because I think it matters. But I want you to go back and I want you to listen to it. And I'll give you a little synopsis of it today with my guest, Mr. David Codria, who's going to be here with me for the hour. David, how the heck are you? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Well, what a year this is going to be, Holmes.
Yeah, with what we're facing, I hesitate using Happy New Year, and I think I'm starting to say have a resolute New Year because we are going to need it. We're up to our necks in it, and we ain't seen nothing yet.
No, we haven't. I tried to, David, and this is a really good opportunity for me to go over a little bit about what I talked about last night. And again, Mr. Gottlieb challenged me. Fair enough. Completely fair enough. He challenged me because I understood what he was saying. And so I went back and I went and listened to the show. I listened to the opening again. And I think it's important that I cover this with you. I want you to hear a little bit about what I said. You want to humor me there for just a second?
Let's go. Your show, man.
Well, I'm trying to be a little optimistic. I mean, just as you said, you and I both know we're in this neck deep. This is not going to be an easy year for America, no question about it. In fact, it could be one of the hardest we've had in 200 years. It very well could be, at least 150 years. But what I did was I was talking yesterday, David. I flew down to Florida on Wednesday, had a meeting with a gun range on Saturday, or on Friday, had a meeting with a gun range on Thursday, and then on Friday, I head home from Naples, Florida, bringing a car back for my mother and father. And as I was leaving Florida, I was thinking about how I was going to open up the 2021 program, the Monster Cast, yesterday, and I really had no idea. And I'm thinking about all these things when I started noticing all these vehicles passing me. Now, keep in mind, I'm in Florida, right? David, I was seeing, there goes Michigander, a whole family. And then right behind him, another family from Michigan. And then right behind them, New York and PA and New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maine, Michigan again. Lots of Michigan. Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. I saw lots of Iowa plates. Saw lots of Jersey, saw lots of PA. And I got to thinking, this is freedom, man. These are people who are not allowing the tyrants to keep them locked down. These are people that are living their lives and not paying attention to Half Whitmer or Wolf in Pennsylvania or that god-awful, hideous Cuomo or, for that matter, Murphy. And we all know about Governor, Gretchen Half Whitmer up there in Michigan. And I got to thinking, this is representative of freedom, and it made me feel good. Because I believe, as you know, David, that freedom will always prevail. And while it's going to be a long fight, no doubt about it, we're going to have to fight our way out of this. But it was the spirit that I saw on the roads that gave me hope. And I gave some advice to listeners about, do a few things. Stop letting these people force you into wearing your face diapers and not leaving your house, and open your businesses. Finally open your businesses. Here's what I'll say that I didn't say last night. If you do this and you defy these people, your community is going to support you. So I was optimistic when I saw that, and I really gave a little bit more optimistic opening than I thought I would because of that. But I'd love your opinion, and I thought that was representative of freedom.
The fact that people are going ahead and ignoring all the hysterical warnings that have no consistency to them, and that are arbitrary and capricious, and this person's allowed to stay open and this person is not allowed to stay open, and you can't do all of this. I had pretty much the same thoughts over the holiday, Mark, as I was touring the Birdcage Theater. Okay,
oh, did you
know
go
what
to
I'm
Tombstone?
talking about. You got it. I went to that, and the reason I had to go to Arizona anyway, on another matter, and I'd heard you talk about Tombstone so often that I told my wife, I said, we got to go there, because Mark is always telling people how great Tombstone is.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's stop everything and let's talk Tombstone for just a moment. I've been there at least 30 times over the years, okay? I've got the key to the city from the mayor. I'm an honorary citizen. I've broadcasted there many, many, many times. I want to know your thoughts. I mean, is that one of the coolest places you've ever seen?
It's kind of a cool place. They sure know how to separate you from your money there. I'll tell you what, you got to be careful with that.
Well, that means they're good at what they do. You got 2,600 people in there. They better know how to separate you, because that's how they survive.
Yeah, I'll tell you what my big problem was. My big problem was with the gunfight, where you're supposed to cheer every time the Earps come on, and you're supposed to boo every time the Clantons come on. And I'm ornery, and my big problem is that the Earps were enforcing gun control.
Well, there's a lot of that's absolutely true, David. You're correct. They went down there to disarm the Clantons and the McLaurys, to enforce their gun control edict in their town. And of course, you can go back and forth historically. The Earps were riding a fine line themselves between lawman and outlaw. So yeah, that's a great argument to have about all of that. And yeah, I've seen it, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, but I'm glad you made it. I'm glad I had no idea you were going, so I'm glad you brought that up. All right, just because the essence of time.
In terms of being afraid of people from the left giving us criticism, all I can say, particularly after that trip is, I'm your Huckleberry. Okay, bring it.
I'll be your Huckleberry. Okay, so anyway, you saw freedom too. I mean, listen, coming from Florida, you see everything from really the Mississippi, east flowing down there. But boy, I'll tell you, the traffic was unbelievable the whole time I was out. And it really did. It gave me hope. It did. And again, let's go ahead and wrap that up, because I thought that was kind of neat. And then I'll tell you why Mr. Gottlieb challenged me, and he did so fairly, I might add. I'm not saying it was unfair, but I want to clarify it for those of you who might have heard it last night. So go ahead, David.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where you're going with this, Mark.
Okay. I'm sorry. You were fair. All right. I'm jumping ahead of you. Let me tell you where I was going to go. Is that after I gave my commentary last night about freedom and people being out on the roads, Mr. Gottlieb came in and he says that I just don't want people to think that that we shouldn't be taking the virus serious. We shouldn't be doing things, which was not my intent. My intent was to say that as responsible Americans, and I told Alan this yesterday, as responsible Americans, I don't need half-wit to tell me what to do. I don't need directives and edicts from a tyrant to tell me how to keep my family safe. I can do those things on my own as a responsible American. And Alan knew that's where I was going, but he said, in his mind and estimation, I didn't clarify that enough. So we clarified that again yesterday. But I was encouraged. I was able to open up on a what I thought was a fairly optimistic note for 2021 versus where I know where we're going in this, what is going to be a blank show. There's no question.
Yeah, I'll
30.
let me back up then also and let you know that initially the trip to Arizona, with Tombstone being a side trip, was planned for personal family reasons that are absolutely legitimate, and that if anybody tried to get in my way, they'd have a lot of trouble stopping me.
Right.
So it wasn't just we were going there carefree, coughing all over everybody and rubbing our faces and and doing all that. We take certain things seriously, but
of course,
you can't stop your life and you can't stop your freedom.
That's exactly the point that I was making yesterday, and thank you for reiterating that today, and thanks for getting out there and being a free American. And that's part and parcel of what I said the other day, ladies and gentlemen. Go on and live your lives. Get your face out of all this crap. Go out and live. People are actually doing that, believe it or not. That's a big help going into 2021, by the way. Back with David right after this.
America was founded through the blood of hard-fighting,
Greg, this hour is going to move quicker than last night. I just want to give you that warning.
I was already prepared for it.
So Stacey Abrams is out running her gator on all the Sunday programs, and I got to tell you, I'm really tired of Fox. This morning, Brian Kilmeade, and I'm going to mention this in the next segment. In fact, I'm glad I thought about that, and I did. Hold on. It's why they're losing viewers. But Stacey Abrams is out there. She's just, I guess Fox is all over it, pushing her line too. That somehow the Democrats have a leg up in the early voting.
30.
This upcoming segment of Armed American Radio is being sponsored by Gunbroker.com, the world's largest online marketplace to buy and sell firearms, ammo, and related accessories. That's Gunbroker.com. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show. Indeed, you are with Mark Walters here hosting today. Now, we're almost 12 years into this program, April 26th, filling your prescription for freedom. Hosting this show is the highlight of my life. I can't imagine doing anything different, and being able to talk about freedom and the right to keep and bear arms with you every day as long as we have has been remarkable. The growth of the show has been remarkable. We couldn't do it without you. We couldn't do it without our partners. To be able to tell you that we're in the Gunbroker.com studios on the Crossbreed Holsters Platinum microphone. Remarkable that I haven't screwed that up yet, but I promise you it will happen. I promise you it will. And we appreciate all of our partners. One that I want to mention quickly, of course, all this being brought to you by X Insurance. More about that in a few minutes. But FrontSight.com is with us for the quarter. And Piazza over there has TrumpsArmy.us. TrumpsArmy.us. He's literally building an army at TrumpsArmy.us. It is 100% free. Go over there and stay up on what he's doing. Give him your email. Stay up on what he's doing over there at TrumpsArmy.us. He's good friends with President Trump, and he's got inside dope over there. It's been fascinating to watch. And if you want to support Front Sight, it supports us. It's going to be a tough year. The enemies of freedom are going to be coming at us from all angles. They do not like programs like this. They hate us, and we need your support. FrontSight.com/Mark. FrontSight.com/MARK. Cost you nothing, and Dr. Piazza will send you the $2,000 free certificate. $2,000 free certificate. Use it, don't use it, sell it, do whatever you want with it. But that right there supports Armed American Radio, and it doesn't cost you a penny. Please help us. Support us by doing that. It is 100% free. All right, David Codria, you want to go ahead and put a exclamation point on the last segment if you want to, and then I'm going to tell you about something that really angered me on Fox News this morning with Brian Kilmeade, and I put a tweet out about it too. But go ahead and take us into this next segment, and then let me rag on Fox and Kilmeade, and maybe we'll go into that little conversation we had about drugs today too.
Yeah, well, just to follow up on the whole COVID thing, okay, we have family members who have contracted it twice, and very serious condition. So we understand that there are risks. No one is trivializing things. No one is discounting real dangers that can happen and the need to be prudent in managing those things without turning ourselves into a slave population. And this unfortunately, the progressives, with quotes around it, don't know how to do anything else with it. I just submitted a piece to AmmoLand. I don't know if it'll be coming out tonight or if it'll be coming out tomorrow, because I don't know how they schedule things there. But the bottom line is there is actually a bill being considered by the New York Senate and the New York Assembly, essentially to create detention centers for people who are carriers or contacts or whatever. And this is all being sponsored by a guy who's a big gun grabber who calls semi-automatics weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
And the bottom line that you have to think about, I mean, it sounds crazy to be talking about this in America, but we're not the ones bringing it up. We're only the ones that are referring to this bill. And ultimately, Mark, if they decide that you're going to go based on all the arbitrary standards that we've seen so far, where nothing seems to make sense and there's no consistency, but if some bureaucrat says you are on the list, they are going to come, if this bill passes, they are going to take you and yours and whoever, and you can't resist. I mean, it's going to be backed up by the force of armed enforcers.
Right.
And once you're in there, you just can't leave on your own either. We're talking detention centers,
FEMA camps,
United States of America, being proposed by people who are gun grabbers.
I'm not going to say anything to that. You know, Greg just whispered in my ear. It's like FEMA camps. Okay? Listen.
Exactly.
There are Democrats talking about doing this. This is America today. I go back to the face diaper thing. I'm not telling you that if you're comfortable wearing I'm not telling you not to wear a mask if that makes you comfortable. Go ahead. I've been in places that I walk in without. If I have to go in and they're going to throw me out, okay, I'll put it on if I have to. I carry it with me from time to time. Vast majority of times I don't. I understand. I get it. We're not different. What we're talking about is something bigger. David, I guess now we're going to have to wear masks during flu season all year. Now it's just the norm. Now they're going to tell us what we have to do. Well, if you got a cold, you got to put a mask on if you walk outside now. I mean, Fauci's going to tell us it works for this. How come we're not wearing masks out there? And when are we going to start worrying about if this is never ending? This is just a test to see what they can get away with. Now, let's switch over to the media. This morning, I was watching Fox News. I have not watched Fox and Friends. I couldn't tell you how long it's been weeks. I have a difficult time going over there. I get my news from other places. But here's what I saw. Brian Kilmeade, Steve Ducey, what's-her-face, and then they bring in Will Kane, who was in Atlanta, because now they have tents up and everything out by Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, because it's a big deal for Georgia election tomorrow. And it is, no doubt. Nobody's downplaying that. Believe me, I live here. And Brian Kilmeade says to Will Kane today, condescendingly, do the people of the state of Georgia have any idea how important this is? I could have reached through the TV and punched him in his face. No, Mr. New Yorker, we don't have a clue. By the way, you're the one being run by Cuomo and de Blasio. David, it angered me. And then when I flip on that, and I go over to right now, GOP looks to Trump to boost turnout as Dems run up early vote tallies in Georgia. David, first off, how do they know the Dems have run up early vote tallies when there's been zero counting yet? And isn't that kind of racist if they're basing that off of skin color of people that are voting in certain areas? They would call me a racist if I said that. So I would like your perspective on both of those. Kilmeade with his absolutely ridiculous, essentially, we're too stupid in Georgia to figure it out, and the vote tallies and how they know. Go for it.
Well, first of all, what they're doing is they are establishing a narrative so that if anyone diverges from that narrative, they can be dismissed with the word baseless. Remember, we went through that a couple shows ago. Just say baseless and get that as the narrative and the talking point, and everybody will not tolerate dissent, because that only comes from the kooks. And yes, there has always been this I'm not sure what you call it, this air of superiority that the metros seem to think they have over people in flyover country, and in fact, you take a look at half of them, they probably wouldn't know how to start a lawnmower. Okay,
at least put gas in it, right?
And again, in terms of coming up with voter predictions, they do have people on site that are doing exit polling. And how did you vote, and coming up with numbers that way. But again, so much of it is dependent, like you say, on where is it that you're
30
exit polling at, and who traditionally votes when and where, and you can manipulate and engineer things a lot of ways like that. And of course, the object is to convince people who haven't voted yet that resistance is futile. You will be absorbed. and therefore just it's a foregone conclusion. What really I'm disappointed in is how little our side has taken advantage over what I consider to be kryptonite to the Warnock campaign, and that is his squelching a child abuse investigation back when he was a pastor.
We've seen a ton of it down here, but I'm going to tell you this. We're going to go here when we come back because this election tomorrow is so important. According to Fox headline, again, I'm staying on Fox because I'm having fun ragging them today, Georgia Senate runoffs bringing on a great deal of urgency among Dems. According to them, Stacey Abrams has no concerns about the turnout tomorrow. Back after this.
Yeah, I think that's Assembly Bill 416A that's in New York State.
Yeah, I haven't read the full bill, but I've been briefed on it. It's 100% true, by the way, viewers. It is 100% true.
It is. I've actually seen a synopsis of it, and if you are deemed a threat to society or may be a threat to society, then you will be removed. That's almost as tyrannical as red flag laws.
Yeah, the arrogance this morning, I was blown away.
I can't watch TV news.
I can't either. It's so difficult. I mean, you know, I kind of got to. I flip around, but just that smarmy, condescending grin on his face, like those dumbasses down south in New York City don't have a clue how important this is, do they? My God, I could have punched him. Could have punched him in his face.
I am over the effect that people seem to think that they are somehow more important or special because the camera is pointed at them.
Well, I've talked about it on air. Maybe we'll go there with David. Part of the problem with news. Yeah.
The narcissism of their industry.
Yeah.
Of TV and period.
Well, it's worse. Because there are, let's go there. It's a good time. I was going to talk about, how we fix the media anyway, so this is a good way to go. I have a way to fix it.
All right, we're close. And 30.
Back to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense with Mark Walters.
Indeed. Welcome show following the big Monster Cast here in the gunbroker.com studios. Patricia Huff from Gunbroker was on the show last night, incidentally. We were live. Had a great time with her on new and used pistols and new and used revolvers, covering some of the best of, well, the top 5 in each of those categories for December. But in about 2 weeks, we're going to cover the whole year with her. What were the best selling in rifles, pistols, revolvers for the entire year over at Gunbroker, who, by the way, is going to do close to, if not more than $1 billion this year. Gunbroker.com, gunbroker.com. Sign up for free, please. If you can't find it on your store shelves, it's over at Gunbroker. And, of course, all of this on today, the Crossbreed holsters, Platinum microphone, and every bit of it sponsored by xinsurance.com. We'll give you a little bit more info on that in the next break. Talking with David Codry of War on Guns, and you can read David over at Ammo Land. Check out his blog at War on Guns. David, let's kind of go here, media, all right? It was kind of interesting. I put a tweet out earlier today. I did something I never do. Like today was do this because you never do it day. I started off with Fox and Friends this morning, had about 8 minutes of that, and I just could no longer stomach after I saw Kilmeade acting like the whole rest of the world except for them are a bunch of hicks and too stupid to figure out what's going on, number one. And number two, then I went over to Drudge Report. That just reminded me to go over and look at that turncoat punk sellout at Drudge, who is now so far left over there. And I know it's cost Drudge many, many, many millions and millions of hits. But when I put that tweet out, you saw it, and you put a link to a post that you put up on your blog over at War on Guns. So you and I were thinking alike, which we tend to do anyway, but we were thinking alike at the exact same time. So let's focus on media here in this segment. Let's talk about now online. I think we mentioned Fox already. We'll move on from that. You're right. They're creating a narrative. That's what they do. What's up with Drudge Report, and what happened to that? I mean, what a sellout punk satellite radio moment word that guy is. What's up there?
I have never really understood what the attraction of Drudge is. It's such a simplistic website, and basically he acts as an aggregator. Right. I just don't see what the big deal about Drudge being the necessary go-to site is all about. He has never impressed me as being a true innovator and a true journalist. I know he got a hold of the Monica Lewinsky thing. I'm not sure how that fell in his lap or what contacts he managed to cultivate to make that happen. But, you know, it's like, what have you shown me lately? I have seen him resistant to actual breaking news. Of course, you know, you followed through with us so many times when we were going through Fast and Furious exposés. Drudge would never accept a news tip from us, even when we had something which, again, as you know, would not be news until a couple days, a week or two later. Fox News or someone else would pick it up, again, without giving credit to, you know, who initially reported on it. So I've got no use for Drudge. I've never had any use for Drudge. I have noticed that he has been coming out and basically trying to do whatever he can to persuade readers to go over to the Biden side of things and to dismiss the Trump side of things, disregarding whatever you feel about Trump as a man. The bottom line is there is a clear-cut set of principles that divide the two camps, or that divide the supporters of the two camps anyway. And Drudge is basically a Democrat operative as far as I'm concerned, and he ought to be, you know, reporting in-kind contributions to the Federal Elections Commission.
From what I understand, well said. From what I understand, and I've read this on a number of different authorities, I can't prove it. I've seen it from some very reliable sources in some very reliable publications, and from some very reliable individuals. But from what I understand, Drudge sold out. And it was as specific as to friends of his parents bought the deal and whatever. It sounds almost like Drudge has just been bought off. I'm going to give you a ton of money, go quietly into the sunset, and leave. And they just took it over. But there's some history.
I know that Rasmussen Report a year ago put out a thing. They don't think Matt Drudge is there anymore. Right. Word is he's sold, just waiting for confirmation. And I'm still waiting for confirmation as well on something like that. But the bottom line is, Mark, you know what? I'm not going to sell the War on Guns. You're not going to sell Armed American Radio. And or if you did have a successor, say at some point, you know, you've earned your billions from talk radio, and you're going to move move on and entrust it to someone else. If that person came out and were doing something that was antithetical to everything that you stand for and believe in, you would be speaking out and lambasting that person as a turncoat.
I absolutely would put it out there to the public who trusted me and believed in me that, look, I sold this. This is what they've done to what I sold, and it's not me, and it's reflecting on me. And Drudge, Matt Drudge, just a wimp, just an individual, a turncoat who tucked tail like a little kid and disappeared. But, hey, Drudge, if you made a bunch of money, good for you. Be man enough to stand up and say, look, I don't own this anymore, okay? But apparently you've been bought off to a point where you can't even do that. Regardless.
Well, the other thing that gets me about that is that Drudge is still synonymous with being a conservative.
Right,
I mean, there's a term out there, drudge-tard. Yeah. So somebody puts a comment on an MSN post, oh, looks like the drudge-tards are here, with their conservatism, and the furthest thing in the world. But you know what? If you paint him as a conservative, then what does that make the rest of us by definition?
Yeah, well, we could go you can go all up and down that spectrum and decide if you're over here, what does that make somebody in the center? Who decides these things, That's a whole different show. Let's stay on media briefly. Greg and I were talking during the break, and one of the things that I love talking about with you is the press, because listeners, viewers, what David was mentioning about Drudge, coincidentally, David has broke news on this program before in the past, in the midst of the Fast and Furious scandal going on, that we would hear, and I will not name the hosts on this show, but we would hear major talk radio hosts, and I mean major, verbatim mention what was said on this program the previous night before. There was no other place they got it, and we were never credited once. Drudge Report had put other people's work out. It's called being big-footed. Fox News had a reporter that was seemingly reporting everything was mentioned on this program at Fox News at 7 o'clock the following morning. David, that term is being called big-footed, right? Where they come out, they take it, they didn't even credit where it came from, and they took the story and run, correct?
Mark, you can go to Wikipedia on their Operation Fast and Furious entry, and nowhere will you find my name or Mike Vanderbo's name.
Not
and yet,
one.
You can go to my website, and I'll link you to all of our reports where we had over 150 reports out before Cheryl Atkinson did her first report.
Yeah, and it was interesting because, I want to remind listeners that I would call you and say, look at this. Look what's on Drudge this morning. Or look what so-and-so talked about later in the day. And it was exactly what had come off of Armed American Radio and right out of your mouth and your research and all of the work that you had done on Armed American Radio. And it was frustrating, to say the least. No question about it. But we're going to go a step further. And that is, how do we break? Because in order for this country to remain free, we're going to have to break the back of the mainstream press right now that is strangling freedom in this country. And it's going to get far worse before it gets better now that we have that idiot Jack, that dirty, grubby, hippie-looking, mangy punk over at Twitter who believes that he can, manipulate what you see and read on his little platform. You've got the likes of Zuckerberg, who at least Zuckerberg talks about free speech. I saw that written somewhere too. I don't even remember. But I think it was Cruz that was mentioning that. Ted Cruz was mentioning it. At least Zuckerberg mentions free speech and at least pretends to care about it. And, and then we've got these talk personalities, or not talk personalities, but media personalities, David. So let me set this up for you. Because I believe there are sets of words that don't belong in the same sentence. Career and politician, I think you would agree with me. Those two words do not belong in the same sentence. I think the founders would agree with me on that. And the next one that we'll use just for the sake of time is news personality. There should be no such thing as a news personality. And the reason people like Kilmeade and the rest of them get their big heads and their big egos is because they're sitting in front of these cameras and they think they're know-it-alls because they're in front of the cameras. And because they're in front of the cameras, everybody thinks they know everything, and they're going to get advice from them. So when we come back from this break, I'm going to tell you how to fix that problem and get David Codria's advice on the same topic. Because in order for us to move forward with freedom, we have to have a true freedom of the press. This can't continue. We've got to break the back and the stranglehold of the mainstream media. Back after this.
Something I never hear people mention, especially those of us that work in the media, because it kind of tells a little bit of what we do, but the television news media is not under obligation to be factual. They're under obligation to be entertaining.
That's true. However, that's the job of a show like this. When you put yourself out and you put the word news in whatever it is you do have an obligation. You have an obligation to be objective, to report news. Now, you take a guy like Jim Acosta. This guy's probably the biggest ass I've ever seen when it comes to quote-unquote news. Now, this guy has already admitted that he's not going to treat Biden, and Biden has not gotten anywhere yet. Fat lady hadn't sung yet. But he's already told us that he's not going to treat Biden the same way he treated Trump. And he's already told us, essentially, that they weren't objective when they were dealing with Trump. Yet they come off as a source of legitimate news.
Well, in the early
you have to
days,
break that back.
They also mentioned, I'm sorry to interrupt, they also
please.
mentioned in the early days that they were relaxing their standards on what they were reporting. Which meant they were no longer going to be ethical, that they were no longer going to be balanced, that they were no longer going to be investigative. They were just going to be salacious.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people look at me cross-eyed when I look at them and tell them the news on your television has no requisite to be factual. They only have to be entertaining. Look at the weather, for God's sakes.
Oh, that's a joke, isn't it?
The weather is very rarely right. A lot of times it's close.
Now, if you want to do something, and it does, it's one of my peeves. I hate news media. I can't stand them. I don't like the way they talk. I don't like anything about it. But weather people, man, I tell you what. Take the 10-day forecast that they put up. Take a snapshot of it. And then on day 2, take a snapshot of the 10-day forecast. On day 3, take a snapshot of the 10-day forecast. Day 4, day 5, day 6. Do that for 10 days. You'll look at that and think, well, you've got to be kidding me. They can't predict the weather here in the metro Atlanta area. They just can't. It's an absolute joke. Florida, easiest place to be a weatherman in the world, Central Florida.
I get it. Weather is difficult to predict because of what it is, but there are some instances where I see on the TV where it's like, number 1 in this, number 1 in that, and they're really just talking about being number 1 and most accurate in the weather, not about the news stories.
Central Florida, news, weather, whatever you want to call it.
Over there, it's either hurricane or sunny.
It's going to be hot as shit, and it's going to rain it too. It's that simple. If the wind's blowing from the east in Central Florida, it's going to be hot as shit, and it's going to rain at 10.
Watch out for the Gators.
That's it. It's pretty simple.
We're about 10 away. And 30.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Defender Coffee. When you drink Defender Coffee, you're making a donation to a gun rights organization of your choice that protects and defends your freedoms. Welcome back to the show. Indeed, welcome back. Yeah, I have some Defender iced coffee here. I put a little bit of cinnamon in it, and it's good. I mean, I like to do that. And I also bought some of those sugar-free vanilla drops and caramel drops and stuff. I like to put a little stuff in my coffee. I just can't drink it black. And those of you will ask, it's a Kennesaw State Dad mug there. There you go. If you can see it on camera, if you watch the live stream. Same with the shirt with the logo. If you see it today, that's KSU. It's where my daughter was. Well, it's where she chose to go. She was accepted in a couple schools. She chose to go to Kennesaw, which is good for her. All right. Here's the deal before we get back with David and get to this media and stuff. I've got to just give a quick shout out to, of course, mypillow.com. Mike Lindell is. If you're not watching his Twitter feed, do yourself a favor and go watch it. I mean, he's all over Governor Christie today and other politicians and turncoats, the rhinos. Mike Lindell at MyPillow. I'm telling you what, man, support the guy. How do you do it? Use the promo code AAR at MyPillow.com. It's that simple. Buy a great product and support Armed American Radio. But read his Twitter feed. He is all over those guys. Car Arms, Gunbroker.com Studios, North American Arms, the Second Amendment Foundation. You know the routine. And Defender Coffee. I'm drinking it right here. DefenderCoffee.com, promo code AAR. Get 15% off. I upped my bag count to the 5-pound bag because we were drinking so much of it, and I don't pay for shipping. You can do the same thing and support the Second Amendment with every single cup of coffee that you drink. I already mentioned frontsite.com. It's so simple, frontsite.com/Mark. Get the free certificate. That's all you have to do, and that supports Armed American Radio. That's what keeps us on the airwaves. It's part of a large portion of what keeps us on the air. Please help us and do that. It doesn't cost anything to do. You can use that certificate or not. You can sell whatever you want to do. And, of course, all of this is being presented to you today by X Insurance, a far superior product. A lot of you think you have insurance coverage. You do not. Call X Insurance. They will explain to you exactly what I'm talking about. It is free. You will get an education unlike anything you've ever seen before, and that's why I moved to X, and that's why X is here with us, and that's why we formed a partnership, because X is taking the firearms industry by storm because of what you will hear when you check them out, xinsurance.com. I promise you. You'll wind up with a policy like mine that blows away anything, those membership group plans that aren't even they're third-party plans. Anything they have, it blows it away because it's policy written directly for you. All right, David Codria. Media personalities. I have a way to end this garbage. Okay, media and news personalities do not belong. Those words don't belong in the same sentence. So here's how you do it. I mean, it's really simple. You take them off the camera and you quit making them TV stars. Rotate them out. Put some moron for 5 days a week to read you the news, quote unquote news, and then swap him or her out for another 5 days and another one for 5 days and another. Quit giving people like Acosta and all of them, conservative, quit giving them platforms. Now, if they're opinion shows, that's different. But if you're supposed to be reading the news, rotate these people. Don't give them camera time. Don't make them stars. Think Megyn Kelly. It all became about Megyn Kelly, didn't it? David, there's ways to fix this stuff, and we've got to, or this republic is in deep, deep trouble, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, you know how much I hate to disagree with you live.
Go right ahead. I don't mind it at all.
I, you know, it's like if wishes were fishes, we'd all cast nets. Mark, these people are there. They are stars because they can attract people. They have X million Twitter followers.
Sure.
They are commodities, and they attract, and they have contracts as well as that. At least in England, with their regulated BBC government-funded press, they at least have the honesty to call them news readers,
right.
Great
point.
as opposed to anything else. I just don't see with the mass media and the profitability and the control of the mass media, particularly the way that it's controlled by like about 6 or 7 major corporations, and they control like 98% of everything that gets filtered down to us, and the rest of us are just out there, you know, the tattered extremists in the hinterlands. I just don't see that monopoly or oligopoly changing. And one other thing about the whole media is, as much as they are so-called progressive, they're also conservative. They are not going to try anything that's new. It reminds me of when George Lucas was doing Star Wars. Initially, he couldn't get financing for it. Because it was unheard of. Nobody, did space operas. That was schlock from the 50s. That was low-budget stuff. Once he proved it was a success and a money maker, everybody went into the space business, and you saw Battlestar Galactica, and you saw everything come up that was trying to parrot off of it. So it's the same basically with the news media. They see formulas that work. They're going to try to replicate those formulas, and they're not going to deviate because, again, they have investors that they report to, and nobody wants to rock the boat. So that's my 2 cents since you asked.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to know. And, of course, I'm being facetious, but we know they're never going to do that because it's a ratings game. Okay? That's all it is. Yeah, obviously, it would be nice to see, maybe we should do it. They're not going to do that. Okay, they want Jim Acosta throwing bombs out there. And then you watch what happens when Biden's in. He's already told you he's not going to treat them the same. So I don't have the answer to it. I mean, facetious, being sarcastic, yes. Do I really? No,
Yeah,
I don't. I don't know how we do it.
I saw when I was away for the last week and a half, had occasion to watch commercial TV, which I never do, and see commercials. They had this one commercial where these sandwich components are sitting around the table, and it's like a slice of bread with a face in the middle of it. It's costumes. A tomato with a face in the middle of it. A slice of cheese with a face in the middle of it. And I thought, these actors that will do anything to get exposure and to advance themselves. If any one of these people ever make it big, people will be hanging on their every word for what their next political pronouncement is. And you hear the guy's a damn sliced tomato, for God's sakes. This is how, he might as well be, waving the sign dressed like a chicken standing on the street corner. Okay? And yet we assign these people all these qualities because of the illusions that they present, and I wish I did know a way to get around that. Unfortunately, I don't. It's like there's not really much of a market for just the truth and talking about being responsible for yourself and to talk about freedom, because it's so much easier just to, be supporters of the government, which is just amazing to me that this is how the United States of America and the Founders Republic has devolved.
You can attribute a lot of that to two things: a 24-hour quote-unquote news cycle, which is doing tremendous damage to the psyche of the country, and number two, a social media
30
driven and that is being controlled by these idiots. I mean, I can't tell you, I lost count of how many tweets today I went to retweet, and I got Twitter, that idiot, dirty, mangy, hippie, goofball Jack throwing this little stupid thing up that says, "Did you want to read the tweet before you like it? Still want to like it?" It's just incredible. But this is how we're devolving. I don't know how we fix it.
60.
David, I wish I had an answer. I will tell you one thing, that we have to fix it, or the Republicans in very serious. The Republicans in trouble. The Republicans in trouble now. But we're going to have to fix this, David. David Codrea, War on Guns, brother. Thank you for what you do, David. Can you come back later in the week, because this is going to be a fascinating week? I'd love to get your take on some of the events coming up this week. Yeah,
real quick. Go to waronguns.com. At the top says clock running out. Read it and do it. There's this financial
30
discriminating, and there's a rule. We've got until tonight at midnight is the deadline. I need people to sign this. I've been trying to get this publicized, okay?
Sounds good.
Go to waronguns.com, clock running out, do it.
Got it. Thank you, David Codrea. Here's the deal. We're going to get up and do it again tomorrow. Until then, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you on the radio, guys.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
Said that the Biden transition team is encouraging the tearing down of the inaugural parade bleachers, and I'm assuming they're tearing those down for gallows.
I'm assuming they're tearing them down for car ramps.
Perfect.
It's going to be a fun week. Buckle in. It starts tomorrow. I'll probably spend Lord knows how much time in line with my daughter and my wife tomorrow. But I had opportunity to vote early when I was running back and forth at tag office, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I was so busy getting ready to travel on Wednesday. But
voting early gives them too much time.
What's that?
Voting early gives them too much time to alter your vote.
There should be no such thing. Take the day off, make elections a holiday, and vote on election day. Simple as that.
Or in person only, and you have X amount of days other than just one, so employers can say, hey, you can take a day and go vote. You've got a week. Pick your day and go.
Agreed.
And the no mail in. I mean, even the military should barely have absentee.
Yeah, if you can't, I mean, there's legit purposes for them. If you're a college kid, you're out of town. If you're traveling, if you're a snowbird back and forth, and you're in your other, that's fine. I get that. That's fine. But this, like Stacey Abrams dumping off an absentee ballot in a box in Atlanta where she lives, no.
No.
And what they did was, most people don't realize this, is Abrams with a big grant to about $500 million or $500,000 or whatever it was, huge amount of money from Zuckerberg. And what he did was they put all these mail drop boxes all over Democrat areas.
Yeah, and then scattered them clear across God's green earth for the conservative areas.
Correct. They're putting them, if they even put one out there at all.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is what's got Trump irate. And by the way, Raffensperger, the illustrious Secretary of State here in the state of Georgia, he's a one-trick pony. He's done. So is Brian Kemp, by the way. I'll make that prediction right now.
The lieutenant governor needs to go as well.
They're done. Yeah, they're finished. But those two, it was reported today that Trump had to call him 19 times. So who the hell is this guy that is so important that when the President of the United States calls you, you put him off or you're too busy 18 times?
Or you snarkily record one side of a conversation and then you release it to the media, which is a crime.
Yeah, well, amazing to me. When the President of the United States calls you, I don't care who you are, you take that phone call. 18 times the President had to call?
It's just like the news media interrupting Trump when he's giving a speech because they don't agree with what he's saying.
It'll be an interesting week. You're hearing it here, Facebook fans. God bless each and every one of you. All right, Holmes. We'll catch you tomorrow, okay?
Definitely, man. Same time.
Be good.
All right, later.
We've just disconnected Greg. Now here's what you do. Because I think it just dawned on me that I may have left off Lead Slinger's whiskey. So those of you on the East Coast, it's happy hour. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? It's 5:01 on the East Coast. Eastern time zone. Go enjoy yourself a Lead Slinger's whiskey if you can. I had one when I got off the air last night as I was doing the podcasts, and very relaxing to close my day out and then get a good night's sleep. So enjoy that, leadslingerswhiskey.com. Have you guys checked out yet, seriously, the X Insurance gig? Have you gotten there yet? If you haven't gotten there, please do it. Do yourself a favor. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Got a lot of work to do. Tomorrow we're going to be voting. It's going to be an unbelievable day. We're gonna bring it to you, with the rally in D.C. on Wednesday. Oh, good heavens. What a crazy week this is going to be. I can't wait. I'll see each and every one of you on the radio. Thanks for tuning in today. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Be safe.